right, hey, welcome to the Podcast Express. This week we got Ronda Rousey going to the WWE. We're going to do an injury report. We got some WWE news, some UFC news, and we'll also have some Who Gives a Shit, and we'll probably make fun of Dana White and make fun of a lot of other people. How you doing, Joe?
Doing pretty good, man. We're going to get to the Ronda Rousey thing in a little bit. That's huge news coming out. I'm excited for that, to see what's going to be happening there. And honestly, I know we don't talk a whole lot of football here, but man, it's great to have football back. It's the best time of year.
It absolutely is, and I was watching last night, and Deshaun Watson, man, he looked really good.
He did, man. I think he's got a ways to go, but the guy, he can be a special talent, and he's in the right situation down there in Houston.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about that again on Garbage Time Points. Hey, this week's Garbage Time Points was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, that fell apart so fast, didn't it?
It absolutely did. And so if you only tune into here and you only like wrestling, well, then don't worry about the Garbage Time Points podcast. But if you're a sports fan, that's probably one of the better podcasts around. It's a few of my friends that I grew up with. And they do a sports-dominated show, and they bring us on to talk about wrestling each week. And, man, we did we're supposed to do a 10-round mock draft, and the whole thing just fell apart and went to shit. And the host, Mike Gaspar, one of my best friends, got so pissed off at us. And I just couldn't stop laughing. But, man, that was a fun show. It was probably the best show they ever did. Yeah, no, and did we even make it? Was it 5 rounds that we ended up giving up on? It was 5 or 6, yeah, and then he just stopped the whole thing and quit. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into our top story. Looks like Ronda Rousey might be headed to the WWE. She's currently in California training with Brian Kendrick. Everybody knows who Brian Kendrick is, former WWE Cruiserweight Champion, multiple tag team champion. He was trained by Shawn Michaels, and he's trained a lot of the female wrestlers there in California. He failed at training Eva Marie, who is now no longer in wrestling, thank God. But it looks like he's training her. He's training Jessamyn Duke, who is one of Ronda Rousey's best friends. I'm super stoked about it. There's been the rumor for a long time that they were going to try to do a 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen feud with the WWE's 4 horsewomen of Becky, Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte. And the MMA 4 horsewomen of Jessamyn Duke, Ronda Rousey, Marina Shafir, and Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, and I mean, this is really big news coming out, and your wrestling history goes back a bit further than mine, but I was trying to think. We've seen a lot of crossover athletes on the male wrestling side. I mean, Mr. T and, Lawrence Taylor. We've seen big guys cross over like that before. Brock Lesnar's, crossover, went from WWE to UFC. I don't think we've seen anybody this big for the women's wrestling. And, I could be wrong, could be corrected. Maybe somebody in Japan that I wouldn't know of. But to my knowledge, Ronda Rousey is going to be the first big women's wrestling crossover. And I'm not counting anybody like Snooki or Maria, whatever her name is from Entertainment Weekly. But
yeah, Maria
Menounos.
No, Maria Menounos, I was going to say, who is extremely famous. She's been around a long time, but doesn't even compare to Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a big deal for the women's wrestling. I mean, have we heard, is it the plan for it to be just one feud? Is she going to be sticking around a little bit? I don't know, but I like the idea. I mean, it would be a lot bigger if she didn't get her ass kicked her last couple fights, but
yeah,
it's still big for women's wrestling.
Yeah, time heals all wounds. Mike Tyson had lost a couple of fights in a row before he went over to the WWE, and he did that huge buy rate and basically saved the WWE and helped WWE win the Monday Night War against WCW. Ronda's still got some name value. She's still a big star. I don't think that she would come in on a full-time basis. I think this would be a 1-shot, maybe 2-shot deal, maybe leading towards a Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey match the following WrestleMania, but all signs point towards a 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen WrestleMania match this year.
Yeah, and I think that's really big. And like I said, for women's wrestling in general, I mean, this is huge because Rousey will no doubt be the top name in women's wrestling at that point, even if she's not a full-time star. So anything you can do to draw more eyes to your brand of wrestling and, for women's wrestling, for it to be taken more seriously, because it's still a work in progress. I mean, a lot of people still think back to the bra and panties days that we had in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's improved a shit ton since then. but they still have a way to go to be completely taken seriously, and Ronda Rousey is a good way to do that.
Absolutely. I love the fact, that they're getting away from all that crap that they did in the Attitude Era. The older I get and the more I look back on it, a lot of the Attitude Era sucked, man.
Yeah.
And I recently tried to go back on the network and watch something from the Attitude Era, and whenever the girls would come on, I felt gross. Now, I'm getting old. I'm no longer a 14-year-old boy. But the whole thing just felt gross to me, and I just fast-forwarded through it, and then I really just wanted to see the good wrestling matches that they had, because the wrestlers were great, and the matches were awesome, and a lot of the angles were awesome. But all the other crap, the gross stuff, I'm just not interested in it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the way a lot of people feel, looking back on it now. In the early 2000s, Trish and Lita were still kind of in the middle of being good wrestlers, but also having to deal with the Attitude Era crap of, Lita always had her thong hanging out, and, Trish, I'm pretty sure, had to walk around on all fours while Vince McMahon spanked her. But both ended up being really good wrestlers, too. But anytime before that, I mean, the women's wrestlers of the Attitude Era were awful, and the women now are still paying for that when you're thinking about taking them seriously. But, man, they certainly have came a long way. And, Ronda Rousey is going to be huge for this. Anything that can get eyes on the product, it's a good thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that WrestleMania will be huge with Ronda Rousey on it. And, everybody's saying, why not have just Ronda Rousey do the match? I honestly don't think that she would want to do it without her friends first.
Yeah, no, and I agree there. And she's not a full-time wrestler, but having her with her friends, Shayna Baszler, one of the 4 horsewomen who is in the women's tournament coming up, it's only going to help her more. And I think Rousey is really big on helping her friends out. So I think it helps her friends more than it helps Rousey, but everybody in the end gets a payday.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So that was our top story number 1. Now, we did not really have a top story number 2 until about 30 minutes ago. So, Joe, what I want you to do right now is go to my Twitter feed right now. go to my Twitter timeline.
God.
And just take a look at the chaos that I have caused. And I think someone's going to get in trouble, not me.
Oh, Lord.
Somebody's going to get in trouble, man.
This has me a little bit worried.
Yeah. I didn't do anything wrong.
Of course not.
So go ahead and look at my Twitter timeline.
All right, I've got it pulled up here. It's running nice and slow. Oh shit! Did you get stuff started with Baron Corbin?
Yeah. All right. So basically, what happened was, one of the wrestling news websites, they tweeted out a thing saying that Dave Meltzer had blasted Baron Corbin, and Meltzer did blast Baron Corbin, and he does a lot. He's not a big fan of Baron Corbin. For that matter, I think Baron Corbin's a good wrestler. I don't think he's a top guy yet, and I think he could be a top guy, but he's missing a couple of things. For the most part, I think he's boring at this stage, but I have seen him in some really good matches. So I don't want to shit on Baron Corbin, right? He's pretty new to wrestling, so you got to give him some time. He's never wrestled anywhere else, so he's only known this one style. Well, anyway, Baron tweeted out that, oh, what does Dave know about wrestling? He's never cut a promo. He's never been in the ring, and blah, blah, blah. So me, being an asshole that I am, not thinking in a million years that Baron Corbin would tweet me back. I tweeted at him, it was like Uncle Dave, which I always refer to Dave Meltzer as Uncle Dave on Twitter. I go, Uncle Dave is more respected in the wrestling business than you will ever be. I was being an asshole when I said that, but that is absolutely true. In 100 years, Baron Corbin will have come and went, and no one will remember his name. People will always remember Dave Meltzer because of the millions of words he's written about pro wrestling. He's been around for over 30 years. He has been a superior journalist in this field, and he is the original mixed martial arts journalist out there. He is going to be more well-known and more respected than Baron Corbin ever will be, right? Baron Corbin's not going to be The Rock. He's not going to be Stone Cold. He doesn't really care about wrestling the way that Dave Meltzer cares about wrestling. So with that said, he tweeted me back. He said, Baron Corbin says, respected by who? Losers like you with a profile pic in a high school gym indie show? So needless to say, I took offense to that. Now, the reason why I got mad, I don't care that he tweeted me back. He wasn't very clever. When Kevin Owens tweets people back, his insults are amazing, right?
Yeah.
Baron Corbin is just a big dumb animal, and so that was just a shitty comeback. So I thought I would go ahead and ruin his freaking tweet, ruin his insult. So I tweeted back to him. Hold on, let me scroll. Dude, I have so many comments and so many retweets right now. It's insane. But so I tweeted back to him a picture of me when I was deployed in Afghanistan 2 years ago. The WWE came. And I got my picture taken with Vince McMahon, The Big Show, R-Truth, and a couple of the girls. I can't remember who they were. Well, I just got another tweet anyway. And I posted that, and I tweeted to Baron Corbin. I was like, well, when I met Vince last year on my deployment in Afghanistan, he didn't think I was a loser. So what makes me a loser? And then he tweeted back to me. He goes, you have proved me wrong. And everybody is destroying him on Twitter right now. So, for the record, he said I proved him wrong. I proved my point. I told him thank you, right? It's over. I got no beef with Baron Corbin. All I did was stick up for Dave Meltzer, who I happen to be a big fan of. The reason we do this show is because of him. We use his news every single week. And I listen to Dave on his radio show 3 times a week, sometimes 4. Every time he does a show, I listen to it. It annoys the crap out of my wife. So I was offended that he went after Dave, and then he went after me, calling me a loser. And the only reason he thinks I'm a loser is because I'm a wrestling fan. Now, if all wrestling fans are losers, then what the hell is he doing this for? Right? If that's the only thing that makes me a loser, he's never met me. So I'm a loser because I'm a wrestling fan? That doesn't make any freaking sense. So I destroyed him. And now it's over. And I kind of wish everybody would stop tweeting him, only because it's blowing up my Twitter feed. I got to shut off my notifications now. It's getting kind of annoying. Yeah, it just went off again. So, so what say you, Joe?
Man, so I'm going through the mentions here, and I think my favorite one, somebody sent you a GIF of Obama and just said, to you and Baron Corbin, didn't really work out that well, did it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, good job by you, like, pulling the military card, but, like...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna... I get it, he's a heel, and I think most of it is trying to be a heel. I don't think he, like, as a person, was calling you a loser. I think it's the Baron Corbin character trying to call you a loser, but... Well, man, if you're gonna do that, be clever. Like,
right,
like you said, Kevin Owens, he's funny when he goes after people.
Absolutely.
But that just wasn't funny at all.
Right. And if you're gonna come at me, be clever, be funny, all right, or just be downright mean. But just to call me a loser because I was at an indie show, come on, that's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I got to have a fun little Twitter beef with Kenny Omega a while back, which I still get notifications from. And he didn't call me a loser. He said my opinion was wrong, and it was a typical opinion of a WWE fan, which at the time it was, because I wasn't watching New Japan at the time. So we got to have a little fun there. I referred to him as a minor leaguer for not working in WWE, and he took offense to that. And you know, it ended pretty well, but he didn't attack me as a person. He just attacked my opinion.
Right.
Baron Corbin, like, be clever, or, you know, a little bit more intelligent with your responses. Calling somebody a loser really doesn't go over well with wrestling fans.
Oh, hey, you know what? Hey, be real quiet. I got my electrician. He's about to call in. Hold on. We'll get him on the air. He'll never know. Hello? Hello, Christian?
You hear me?
Yeah.
I want to talk 2 seconds. I want to see you home.
Okay.
See you then.
You're going to be at my house,
there?
and you'll be at my house in a couple of minutes?
I'm at corner right now.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right. See you then. Bye. All right, so that was my electrician. Did you understand a word he said?
I think I heard the word 2 minutes in there.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he was going to come to my house or to his house in 2 minutes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, he's coming over to install some ceiling fans. I know this is real intriguing stuff for everybody that's listening in. But hey, man, I'm a homeowner. I got to do upgrades to the house, and this guy knows how to get it done. He's actually going to do 4 ceiling fans and my bathroom exhaust fan. He's going to install all of them, and he's throwing in an exhaust fan for $270. Man, I got a steal.
There you go. Did you pick them up at the Home Depot?
No, so I had a plumber come by on Tuesday, and I also had a professional electrician that Home Depot referred me to. The guy that came over, the electrician guy, he came over, and he quoted me at $2,700 to do the same work that this guy's doing. And so the plumber heard that, and he goes, "Hey, I got a guy that'll do that for a fraction of the price." And he gave me his phone number. I called him, and next thing you know, boom, I went from $2,700 of work to $270 worth of work, and I got a new fan.
Damn.
So, yeah. So.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he seems a little shady. I think he steals from his company and all the supplies and stuff. But hey, screw it, man. It's cheap labor. I love it, and that way I can sell this freaking house one day.
There you go.
All right, so the feud with Baron Corbin is over. Somebody just called me out for using my military. I'm not talking about Mike. I'm talking about some other guy called me out and said it was wrong of me, and he's right. It was wrong of me to do that. However, I was in a war, and sometimes when you're in a Twitter war, you got to pull out all the stops, man. You got to win, right?
Exactly. You came out on top. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get into our injury report. Our injury report is brought to you by, well, nobody right now. We just read it off the Observer. So, all right. So, some unfortunate news. Yoshihiro Takayama is paralyzed from the neck down. Man, that sucks. Apparently, he was in a wrestling match back in May for a promotion called DDT, and he did a sunset flip. He landed on his head, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. Now, if you're not familiar with Yoshihiro Takayama, he is of the famous Fry Takayama fight, where him and Don Fry back in the late night, I think it was 2002, I want to say. And we'll tweet out the video. Joe, can you tweet out that video? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I just watched it the other day, actually.
Yeah. It's one of the most epic fights in the history of fighting. Boxing, UFC, MMA, kickboxing, no matter what. It was a legit fight, and the guys just stood in the corner and just pounded the crap out of each other for 6 minutes straight. It's on every single highlight reel, and every single brawl that you see in the UFC today is compared to the Fry Takayama fight. But apparently, a lot of that wear and tear he took in his pro wrestling career and his mixed martial arts career has caught up to him finally. And it's really bad news, man. You see a guy like that who is I only know him from that fight. I never watched one of his pro wrestling matches because I'm just now getting into Japanese wrestling. But apparently, he's a big legend over there, so it's really sad to see a guy like that go down.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation, and you really over the past week or so, you've seen all the guys has affected. I mean, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles and Anderson and Gallows. A lot of these guys who did wrestle over in Japan, just speaking on how he impacted their career. He had kind of a wide range. Really hate to see incidents like this, but hopefully he's doing well, and we'll be able to work through this. And just really unfortunate. It's seeing a lot of bad injuries this year, man.
Yeah, man, with Shibata, Tomoyaki Honma, Shibata, that really bad injury stemming from that headbutt. I really hope that guys are going to learn from stuff like this and just not hit each other in the head. They don't need to do it.
At what point do why is the headbutt not banned anymore? Because it was the same move that ended Daniel Bryan's career. I mean, it was the headbutt in his match versus Kane that set him out that year after he had won the title. He came back for a couple months after that, but he was clearly never the same. The injuries kept coming back up, and the more tests they did just kind of confirmed the information. Why do people still do it? It's not like it's an amazing looking move. I mean, it's not spectacular or anything. It doesn't get a huge pop every single time. I think it's one of those moves that you can just look at and say, hey, it's okay to go ahead and just not do this anymore.
Right. And the problem with Shibata's headbutt is it was legit. It was real. It was, bone on, like the hardest part of his head would go onto the hardest part of your head. and he could have killed both of them, man. And he got injured in the match with Okada, and it was up until that point, because I watched it. Up until that point, it was one of my favorite matches I had ever seen. It was great. I started to become a huge fan of Shibata, and just like that, man, with a move that he really didn't need to do, like that, the match without that move was probably 5 stars.
Yeah.
So it was a completely unnecessary move. So I really hope that wrestlers are starting to take note of head trauma and how they just don't need to hit each other in the head anymore, man.
Yeah, it's a move. I mean, people give WWE a lot of shit for how they handle things. A lot of people seem to think they're mistreating Daniel Bryan a little bit and that Daniel Bryan is okay to wrestle. But I got to give them kudos, because whether it be for the right reasons or not, maybe they're just protecting their company. But either way, they're protecting their wrestlers and their long-term health by the way they're doing things there. I hope that other promotions will start to adopt some of the things that they're doing there in WWE in regards to head trauma, because it's really unfortunate to see situations like this come up. It's almost on a yearly, semi-yearly basis now. I mean, we're seeing a couple of these each year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, more injury news. Bayley has a separated shoulder. She is off SummerSlam. Apparently, she got injured in a match with Nia Jax on Raw last week. I watched the clip on YouTube, and yeah, it looked pretty nasty, man. So she's going to be out for, who knows, depends on if she has surgery. And I'm a guy who's had 2 shoulder surgeries, so I know how awful that can be and how long it takes to recover from those. So, let's hope she's not out too long. But man, she came back to Toronto and tried to announce that she was off SummerSlam, and she just got booed out of the freaking building.
Yeah, it's watching Bayley in NXT a year ago. You would never thought that when she got called up, she would be getting booed. Like, it was how does WWE ruin it that bad? But hopefully, some time off, some time away from the crowd, WWE can take some time to look at her character and how they book her and get that corrected, because there's no reason she shouldn't be the biggest star in women's wrestling for full-time wrestlers, obviously. I mean, that's just a crappy situation to be a clear face, no reason to hate her, and you're getting booed while announcing that you got a severe injury.
yeah, man. Also, Scott Dawson of The Revival, he's got a torn bicep. Man, The Revival's a great tag team, and I was really excited to see them come up on the main roster. I was in the camp that they're the best tag team in the world. It's them and the Young Bucks, I thought. And they just can't seem to stay healthy. Dash Wilder, immediately after they came up onto the main roster, he broke his jaw. And then now, leading into their match with the Hardy Boys at SummerSlam, Scott Dawson tears his tricep in a match in Canada. His bicep in a match in Canada. It looks like he's going to be out for a while. I mean, these guys just can't seem to catch a break, man.
Yeah, it's rough. And, the bad thing with that is, how Vince McMahon looks at people once they get an injury is, can they be relied upon when they come back from that? For these guys to have, we haven't even really got to see them on the main roster yet. They've had a couple matches, but they've been out for, one reason or another. A feud with the Hardys would have been great. I was really looking forward to that, but it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. Maybe because the tag team division is lacking a little bit, maybe you're going to have to see Sanity or Authors of Pain get called up a little sooner than expected. Hopefully the Revival can come back from this strong.
Absolutely. All right, well, hold that thought. We're going to pause for a sec. All right, sorry about that, everybody. My electrician just showed up. He's going to be working in the other room. So we left off with the Revival and their injury situation. We left off with you.
Yeah, no, just saying how unfortunate it is, and kind of interesting to see, because there's the rumor of that roster shakeup after SummerSlam. They're going to try to make kind of a yearly thing where SummerSlam and WrestleMania are almost on equal or footing ground, which with that goes Raw and SmackDown the next night. Could possibly be some new debuts. With the Revival being out again, they were kind of going to be counted on to hold up the tag team division and add in some new contenders there. Obviously can't do that now. It's entirely possible we see Sanity or the Authors of Pain come up to kind of take their place on the main roster. Going to be interesting to see what happens now.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So that's it for the injury report. Let's go ahead and get into some WWE news. It looks like John Jones is angling to come be at ringside during the Fatal 4-Way main event of SummerSlam with Lesnar, Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman. He even said it on Twitter when someone asked him if he would be there, and he said, "I'm thinking about it." And then he was on Good Morning America this week also, kind of pumping up that Brock Lesnar fight. I think this would be a wise move by him and by WWE, man. It'd be awesome to see him there in the front row.
Yeah, I mean, who loses in that scenario, even if nothing happens? I mean, maybe that's your way to allow Brock Lesnar to lose but not lose clean. Maybe just kind of a stare down with John Jones gets him distracted to take the pin, and then we could see a real carryover into an actual fight. I mean, who loses? That would be perfect for both companies. Good publicity. It's easy publicity. I hope it happens. I want to see John Jones there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think it would be only a positive for everybody involved. And he would probably have a fun time at the show. I know that he was at SummerSlam a couple of years ago when it was in LA, and him and Brock Lesnar actually took pictures together. So if anybody thinks that there's any heat between these two guys, it's all work, man. It's all pro wrestling. They're just going to fight for real.
Yeah, it's all about money, and they know the biggest way to get those big paychecks is by fighting each other. Because Brock Lesnar could go out and he could probably fight Stipe Miocic or Mark Hunt or Frank Mir again, get a big payday. John Jones, the same thing. He could probably fight Alexander Gustafsson or Stipe Miocic and get a big payday. But the biggest payday is fighting each other, and they're going to take the lead from what Conor McGregor does and try to make it seem like they really hate each other. Some people will buy it, but it'll be huge pay-per-view numbers once they meet up. Absolutely, man.
And so the Hardy Boys, if you guys noticed that they were not on Raw on Monday, that's because they can't get into Canada. Jeff Hardy has a checkered past, to say the least. I think he got popped for drug trafficking back in the day, didn't he?
I think at least once. I think that was right around the time he left WWE the first time to go to TNA. He had a short stint in TNA and then came back and then failed a drug test. But I think the first time he left WWE was for drug trafficking.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it looks like they will be back on Raw this coming up week, and I think they're going to work out their visa issues and for the next time that Raw happens to go to Canada. But with that, I don't know what the Hardys are going to be doing at SummerSlam now. People are saying that they could potentially just wrestle Gallows and Anderson, who they've wrestled a couple of times already on TV. They've traded wins back and forth with those guys. Man, the Hardys, and that would be a pre-show match, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, here, my idea. Let's throw a change up because I know it's opposite shows. I don't care. We've had this whole Breezango thing going on where somebody has been going after Breezango and they haven't really revealed who it is. Let it be the Hardys. Let it be the Broken Hardys. It could be an entertaining feud. Maybe the Hardys, I think, would be better on SmackDown. I would go ahead and put them on SmackDown and let them feud with Breezango, get the best of that feud, and then go after the New Day. I think the more entertaining feuds for them, especially if they are broken or awoken, whatever they decide to do, I think it would be perfect over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about that. That would be an awesome idea. The Woken, but man, I do not want to see them in a prolonged feud with Breezango.
No. Don't drag it out too long. Like a month, maybe, one pay-per-view match. At that rate, if it's at SummerSlam, they don't even have to have a match. Just have some type of vignette, some type of big reveal where they finally become awoken and they go after the fashion police. I think it'd be really entertaining and could lead to something better for both teams down the line.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Hardy Boys, a really funny thing happened between Global Force Wrestling and Jimmy's Seafood. It's a seafood restaurant over in Baltimore, Maryland, and I think they sponsor wrestlers and give them free food and stuff like that. Anyway, Global Force sent them a message and said, hey, we're interested in working with you guys if you want to do something promotional and blah, blah, blah. And Jimmy Seafood replied back, well, once you let the Hardys have their broken gimmick, then go ahead and give us a call.
Oh, God.
How awesome is that, man?
That's the best response ever. So at this point, not only does it make you look like an idiot, but it is costing you money because a company's not going to work with you.
Yeah.
How are you winning in this? Just give up.
Absolutely, man. They're really just holding on to this thing just out of spite. I think it's so stupid. Just give them the damn gimmick.
If for no other reason than to get Rebby Hardy to shut the hell up, like that alone should be incentive enough to just give the gimmick up.
That's a win for everybody.
Yeah, because she would have to pay, what was it, $5,000 under their agreement every time she tweeted something bad about them.
Yeah.
There you go. Make her shut up.
Absolutely, man. More WWE news. Rey Mysterio is not going to the WWE. He had been linked there for a little while. There was rumors going around that it was because the WWE just hates Conan over some bullcrap about. So Conan was in the WWF back in the early '90s, and he played the most god awful, ridiculous character called Max Moon. Did you ever see that?
I didn't.
Oh my god, dude! You got to go ahead and Google Max Moon, and then tweet out a picture or tweet out a GIF or whatever of Max Moon. Well, anyway, and that was Conan's idea, and like right in the middle, I think he only had a couple of matches, and then all of a sudden just said, "Screw it, I'm going back to Mexico," and he said he's not coming back. So, excuse me, but he just said, "Screw this, I'm not going back." And then apparently there's been heat ever since then. Now, Conan has since denied that there's any heat. He said that he was recently backstage at an event. He talked to Triple H, talked to Stephanie, and he was cool with everybody. And he said that if WWE did not want to sign Rey Mysterio because Conan's his agent, then he would just stop being his agent and let Mysterio negotiate on his own behalf. So I think that is silly. I think what they were doing was they were using WWE to get more money out of Global Force, because I think that's really where Mysterio wants to go. He only wants to work a couple of dates a month and still be able to do indie shows and autograph shows and then all this and that. And Lucha Underground just totally dropped the ball with Rey Mysterio. They're not going to be able to sign him back. So Global Force Wrestling looks like they're going to get another big name star in Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, and it's an interesting timing, because a big reason from what I've been told and what I've read that they are holding on to Alberto Del Rio, big reason why they haven't went ahead and cut him, is because he's a Latino star. There's a big following for Latino wrestlers. I mean, Mexico is huge into wrestling, and they didn't want to lose Alberto Del Rio because of that reason. They had no one to replace him. So if you're bringing in Rey Mysterio, who is bigger than Del Rio, obviously he's not going to work the same schedule that Del Rio could, but he is way bigger. I mean, it could lead to Alberto finally being cut from Global Force after all these recent troubles. So that's something people are going to have to keep in mind with this possible signing coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he could be on the chopping block, or they could be angling for an Alberto Rey Mysterio feud. Global Force obviously has a relationship with AAA. They have a relationship with the Crash, Conan's promotion. So, and they could probably sell some tickets down there in like a multi-promotional huge event. Maybe they keep them both. Who knows? As it stands right now, Alberto has been cleared of all charges. So I don't know why he's not off suspension. I think that Global Force might know a little bit more than most of us know, or else he would probably be off suspension and he would have been on those house shows over the weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess in that incident wasn't guilty, but they do have recording of, I mean, clearly there was cocaine and other drugs involved in that incident in a airport nonetheless, which is a huge felony. So I think that part of it could be something else that's holding things back, not to mention just the fact that Alberto's been a huge douche since he's been there, and they were getting fed up with him before that had occurred. So this was just a good reason to suspend him, take a step back, and kind of assess the whole situation.
Absolutely, man. Also, SummerSlam. It's slated to be 6 hours long, man. Dude, I don't know if I can do it. I will. So here's my schedule next weekend. So I'm gonna have to watch NXT like late, because on Friday night I will be driving to Tahoe, and then I'll be there Saturday, and then I'm coming back from Tahoe on Sunday. It's about a 3-hour drive, and then gotta get ready for work, and then I gotta watch wrestling. I don't know if I got 6 hours of SummerSlam in me, man.
you're married, you can't do it anymore. You've got like other adult responsibility things to do. I'll have nothing else going on that day. It'll be spent inside the house anyway. So a person like me, I can sit back and, just chill out and watch wrestling for 5 or 6 hours in a single day. But man, it's rough. I would prefer it to be around 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unless the matches are really good, which WWE hasn't done lately.
They could have done that, but then they opted not to give us the matches that would have been really good that could have filled that show. Instead of giving us like, Nakamura John Cena 2 or something like that, or Nakamura AJ or AJ Cena 4 or something like that, they gave us Nakamura and Jinder, and then they gave us AJ and Kevin Owens are great. And they threw Shane McMahon in there. I happen to be a Shane McMahon fan. I mean, the guy just recently survived a helicopter crash. I got a lot of respect for people who do that. So, and I like the matches that he's in. I think he usually performs well, but they're kind of throwing that gimmick in there. And then on the Raw side, instead of giving us a couple of different matches that could have been great, they just threw all the guys in the same match for their main event. So they're not. And then they threw Rusev and Randy Orton together for absolutely no reason. And now they got my arch nemesis Baron Corbin versus John Cena. That actually might turn out to be good. Maybe John Cena can bring something out of Corbin that we haven't seen before. But there's nothing about it that is must-see other than the Fatal 4-Way main event. I think that's really interesting. Other than that, everything else is they're just matches.
Yeah, a couple that are, I think, going to be really bad. Big Show versus Big Cass, I expect absolutely nothing from that match. Like, no. I don't know why it's happening. I don't want to see it. I mean, I don't know what to expect there, but Big Show's not in his prime, and even in his prime, he wasn't delivering 4-star matches. Right. Big Cass is not going to be able to carry that match.
Right. Well, I've seen Big Show in good matches. He has had good matches, but he's not supposed to give you a 5-star match. He's an attraction. And now you got Big Show, who's legitimately 7 foot tall, against Big Cass, who is 6'9", claims to be 7 foot tall, and it's just it's supposed to be some kind of clash of the titans, but there's no heat there. Nobody really cares, and then they just stick Enzo in a cage for no reason.
I don't know. I honestly feel my worry is I think fans are going to be absolutely pissed off at the end of this night. For one reason and one reason only. Shinsuke Nakamura is going to take the title off of Jinder Mahal. But Baron Corbin's probably going to take it off of Nakamura right after the match. Right. I think they're going to repeat the same story they've done before. They did it with Daniel Bryan when he won the title and they immediately had Randy Orton take it off of him. I think they're going to repeat that here, and fans are going to be livid if Nakamura loses to Corbin because Corbin isn't ready yet. He doesn't deserve it. And Nakamura is probably the most popular guy on the SmackDown side right now. And
he also hates the troops, apparently.
he does hate the troops.
I'm just kidding. So Randy Orton beat Jinder Mahal this past Tuesday on SmackDown. So that's a little foreshadowing. I think Jinder beats Nakamura, and then Baron Corbin does nothing. That's what I think.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I think fans would lose it more if Jinder beats Nakamura than if Corbin took the title. Because at least Corbin taking the title, it's with the Money in the Bank cash in, and you can, build up Nakamura's next feud there. But I tried to give Jinder Mahal a chance as champion. I can't get behind him. Like I've completely stopped watching SmackDown. I'll watch their pay-per-views, but I stopped watching the weekly shows after Jinder Mahal won the title, and I haven't missed it since. Right.
And, Jinder, I thought, started off pretty good, but, man, he has the same match, and he cuts the same promo every week. It got old quick. I mean, he's got a great look. He actually, they posted a video on YouTube today of him with Cal Penn, Cal from Harold and Kumar. So I guess Kumar was at the SmackDown on Tuesday, and he was backstage with Jinder Mahal. So they did like a little YouTube video together. That's pretty funny. But he looks like a star. He dresses like a star. He's got the body of a star. But man, he doesn't work or talk like a star. So
no, well the only thing the only thing he has in his promos is "You only hate me because of, where I'm from.
Right.
That's the same thing every single week, and it doesn't get over.
No. I mean, it was annoying the first time, I think, but
yeah,
it's a different world. Like, nobody believes that, and we all know he's from Canada.
Yeah,
and nobody
it's
has
not 1980 anymore.
Right, and there's never a reason to hate Canada.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I don't know. I mean, I hate Canada.
Why do you hate Canada?
I mean, they're stupid.
Oh.
That's about all I got.
Yeah, you're not an adult. Anyway, so today is the 20th anniversary of Degeneration X forming.
Man.
So yeah, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Wow, so you were 4 years old.
Yep.
Wow. So I was 14. Yeah. So funny DX story. So I'm 14 years old. DX is at its peak, and I convinced my parents to buy me a Degeneration X shirt, but I did not let them see what was on the back of it. Right.
Oh God.
So I wear it to school one day, and my shop teacher, he knew what it was because I guess he had kids my age. He knew what it was, and he goes, Gilbert. For whatever reason, ever since, like, nobody knew my first name all through high school because I wrestled and played football, practiced football. And he said, Gilbert, turn around. And I stand up in front of everybody, and it says, I got 2 words for you, suck it, on the back of my shirt. and he goes, you can't wear that at school. And I was just like, well, it's bleeped out, sir. And he goes, I don't care. Everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows what that means. Take it off. And I'm like, well, I don't have another shirt. And he ended up giving me like a shop shirt, like a short sleeve, like shirt that you would wear in a shop, like a mechanic shirt. And I had to wear that stupid thing the rest of the day, and it had his first name on it. Until, for the life of me, I can't remember his first name. So I wore that the rest of the day, and every time I would wear that Degeneration X t-shirt, I actually had to wear a shirt over it. And I could have the front exposed, but I could not have the back exposed because of the vulgar language on the back. So thanks to DX, I got in trouble.
Yeah, I think there's probably a thousand kids out there who have the same exact story.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, hey, Twitter is still blowing up, man. My iPad's going off like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wrestling fans are passionate. They'll jump on things and they'll not leave it alone.
Absolutely, man. All right, so that's it for WWE news. So some UFC news. John Jones and Daniel Cormier did 860,000 buys. Man, that's really freaking good for that pay-per-view, especially considering, Mayweather and McGregor is just right around the corner. I was one of the guys that's saving my money for the Mayweather fight, but not. I guess there's still a lot of people with some disposable income out there because they bought this one, and I'm sure they're glad they did it because that was an amazing show, and turned out to be a huge success for the UFC. Yeah,
no, I mean I spent my money on it. We, me, Rocky, and Shay got together. We did it on the projector. It was worth $60, man. Like I think the main event fight alone was worth it, but there was other great fights on the card. I mean, people pay for Robbie Lawler and Donald Cerrone. You're going to get exciting fights with those guys. It was a perfect example of having a full card getting buys because there was something for everybody on that card. Taking out the Damian Maia fight, that was god-awful. But there was something for everybody. Cyborg, I think, there's a lot of intrigue with her. I think that factored into the buy rate as well. Before the fight, Meltzer had put his over-under at, I think, 500,000 buys, and it did well above that.
Yeah, it did, man. So good for them. Good for John Jones. Good for Daniel Cormier. I'm sure they could use a payday. So
yeah.
And speaking of Cyborg, it looks like it's almost official. Dana White hasn't said anything yet, so whatever he says, we'll go ahead and believe the opposite because Dana White's a liar. But it looks like Holly Holm versus Cyborg in New York City, Madison Square Garden, November 4th, I think.
Yeah, that would be the GSP Michael Bisping card too, right?
Yeah, well, that was the next on our list to talk about, but yeah.
Yeah. I like the fight. Holly Holm has got good boxing, but I think she's going to get torn apart by Cyborg. I don't think she's quite on her level.
Dude, I don't know. So Holly Holm is a great counterpuncher, and she's a very patient fighter. So patient that she can be boring. And Cyborg is a come forward, just totally blitz through everything, a lot like Ronda Rousey. And we all saw what happened to Ronda. I think, you know what? I'm going to be in Tahoe next weekend. If the sports book at the casino there, or one of the casinos there, has some decent betting odds, I would probably throw down a little bit of cash on Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm, if the odds are stacked against her, right? So if it's like a plus 300, plus 400, that's the only way you can make money betting on fights is to go for the underdogs. And I would probably throw maybe $50 down on Holly Holm. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, she's no stranger to huge upsets. I mean, obviously Rousey kind of fell off a little bit after that fight, but at the time, and I think we could still say that Holly Holm knocking out Rousey is probably the biggest upset in UFC history. Maybe second to Sarah upsetting GSP. I would probably give the edge to Holm over Rousey there, but I mean, I think Cyborg's going to take her. I think Cyborg is a whole new animal, but who knows? We've seen crazier things, I guess.
Absolutely. And speaking of GSP, it's official. He signed his bout agreement to fight Michael Bisping at UFC 217 is what they're calling it?
Yep.
Yeah, UFC 217 in Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's a big fight. I'm intrigued. I think that UFC is doing what the WWF used to do back in the mid-'90s, where they had quarterly, they had a huge pay-per-view, and then every month in between was the old In Your Houses shows, where like nobody really bought, but they would just do them anyway because they could still generate revenue. Because the months leading up to the UFC 217, Demetrius Johnson's headlining a show, I think, which is Death. And I don't know any other. I don't know what UFC 215 and 216 is going to be. But I know one of them is in Canada, and it's Demetrius Johnson versus Ray Borg, I think, and then Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko, and then I don't even know what the October pay-per-view is. I couldn't tell you, and I used to know all this crap. So it seems like they're just going to do a quarterly big show, man. It worked out for them last year, where they just kind of stack up a show every quarter, and maybe do 1 million buys. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea here. I think this one does 1 million easily because GSP hasn't fought since November of 2013. It's now been 4 years since GSP was in the ring, and I kind of would have preferred him to have a kind of a rust breaker between getting a title fight. I don't know if Michael Bisping's really the guy you want to go in there against after having not fought for 4 years. So there's going to be a lot of intrigue in there. Most of the time when a GSP fight comes up, I just assume he's the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bisping takes this one here.
Yeah, I actually, I'm going to bet on, I don't think I'm actually going to bet on the fight. I think it's a really close one, but I would say, yeah, I would go with Bisping in that fight. I don't think that GSP is going to be able to take him down the way he thinks he can take him down.
Yeah. And that's been an advantage. Even though he's not like a huge welterweight, he was always, he's a freak athlete. He was always much stronger than the other welterweights. He's not going to have that wrestling and strength advantage at 185 that he had at 170.
Right. And so UFC was in Mexico City this past Saturday night. That card flew under the radar, man. I honestly forgotten all about it, and then I put the UFC calendar in my phone, so my calendar notifies me when there's a fight on. I did that like 5 years ago, and it just has still worked. So, and I checked in, and I saw poor Rashad Evans lose to fucking Sam Alvey, dude. Did you see that?
I didn't, man.
Man, it was sad, bro. It was sad.
I kind of got to the point where I'm one of those guys who's only watching the big cards now when they do load up. I used to watch every single one, but it's become so watered down. There's so many UFC events. Yeah,
but it's like, dude, I was home. There was nothing else on TV. You know what? I didn't see the main event, but I heard it was really good. The main event was Sergio Pettis. It's Anthony Pettis' brother against Brandon Moreno, and I guess Sergio looked good, and it looks like he's going to get the next shot for Demetrius Johnson after Demetrius beats the next jobber he's fighting. And Sergio has a name because his brother used to be a champion, so maybe that could, have some intrigue. I don't know. It's not a show that I would buy, but if they had it on Fox, I'd probably watch. But yeah, so it's like I didn't even know that it was coming on, but I got the notification on my phone. We had been remodeling all day, and then it just turns out it was on, and so that was like, okay, we're done. We're just gonna eat some dinner and watch some fights, and then I changed it before the main event came on because I had to watch my my show on AMC called Turn, Washington Spies. It's my favorite show now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that show?
I haven't. I need to get on it.
Dude, it's on. The first 3 seasons are on Netflix. So
awesome.
Yeah. You can totally veg out on that.
Yeah, I just finished Shameless, so I needed something to watch. So.
Oh, there you go. Highly recommended.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into some New Japan news. So I am not going to recap every single match of the G1 because there's just too much. So what I'll say is I'm actually really excited for the semifinals. So correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but in the B block, in the finals, it's going to be Omega versus Okada 3, right?
Yep.
And Okada has 1 loss and 1 draw, and Omega has 2 losses. So basically, the way they're setting it up, the storyline, and I really dig this, is if it goes to a draw, and it's a 30-minute time limit, if it goes to a draw, then Okada moves on to the finals. If Okada beats him, obviously, moves on to the finals. But if Omega wins, then Omega will have the strength over him because he does not have a draw. So he'll have points over Okada, and then he will go to the finals. And then in the semifinals of the A block, it is Tetsuya Naito versus Yoshihiro Tanahashi. Is it Yoshihiro? Did I just make that up?
I mean, it sounds right to me.
Yeah. I was Tanahashi. His name's Tanahashi. Fucking
there
first
we
name.
go.
Who cares? And they're in the A block finals. So, and we didn't go over it in the injury report because the dude's still wrestling. But Tanahashi's beat up like crazy, man. He's got a torn bicep right now. Same injury as Scott Dawson has, but he's not taking any time off, man. He's gonna push through. And my prediction, just based off of how I'm learning New Japan is right now, I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's gonna be Omega and Naito in the finals.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, still learning about New Japan myself, but the winner of G1, it's kind of like the Royal Rumble, right? Where if you win G1, then you go on to headline Tokyo Dome next year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, to set up, they'll probably, I think the biggest money draw out there would be Omega versus Okada, to where they can just have the ultimate tiebreaker. They would each have 1 win, each have 1 loss, and they have the draw there.
Yeah, that would make sense. New Japan, all their booking makes sense, but they could throw a wrench into this. Tetsuya Naito is a huge star over there, and maybe they go with Naito versus Okada, and then they do, Tanahashi versus Omega for the Tokyo Dome. The good thing about New Japan is they can go so many different ways and have so many different great matches. I'm really excited, and the semifinals and the finals are all going to be in English, so I'm pretty excited about because, Okada and Suzuki had a match the other day. I started to watch it, but I'm just one of those guys. I can't do Japanese commentary. I just can't.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Commentary is really big for me, and obviously, if you can't understand it, it's not going to help you get over with the match. So I'm the same way. I need English commentary.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into who gives a shit. Joe, what's your who gives a shit of the week?
Man, my who gives a shit is this fucking Joey Ryan Jim Cornette feud. For people who may not know, Joey Ryan is a independent wrestler, kind of a big independent wrestler. For probably one reason, his big finishing move, I think it's called the penis lock of doom, where Joey Ryan's penis is actually has some kind of power or something. I don't know. It got Mick and he took Mick Foley down with his penis. And this, have you seen the video?
Yeah. I'm not proud of it, but I did watch it. And it's go ahead.
It's awful. No, it's awful, but it's funny. Like if it was happening in WWE or New Japan, I would hate it. But on the independent circuits, I'm able to laugh at it. But Jim Cornette has just absolutely unloaded on Joey Ryan, saying he is a cancer to wrestling.
Yeah.
And he's killing the business. And Joey Ryan was like, oh, are they not still having matches? Are we not still doing huge numbers? Like, how exactly am I killing the business? Is there not going to be a wrestling event tomorrow? Like, my thing is, like, Jim Cornette, like, give up. Like, who gives a shit, man? Like, It's not affecting wrestling at all. Now, if this starts to get imitated and WWE starts to do it, then we can look back at Joey Ryan and say, hey, you're fucking awful. You did this to us. But WWE's not going to pick up on this. New Japan's not going to pick up on it. It's just something that's fun and independent wrestling to make people laugh. The fans love it. The guy, I mean, it's made him a ton of money, and he can go feed his family and pay his bills. So
I don't know that he has a family. I couldn't imagine him being married to anybody.
I think he is. I don't know if he has kids, but I think he is married. I could be wrong on that, but like Jim Cornette, man, like who gives a shit? Like you're right in a lot of cases, but give up on this one. That's a battle not worth fighting.
So I'm on Cornette's side, but not to the extent that Cornette is saying. I mean, he literally thinks someone should murder Joey Ryan. I listened to his show today because I knew he was going to go off about the situation. And he didn't really go off on Mick Foley because he likes Foley. He just said he was disappointed in Mick. And when I saw it too, I was like, Mick, what are you doing? Because, look, I'm not a fan of that spot. And the reason why is because, being a wrestling fan, it's hard enough. I mean, the wrestlers themselves think you're a loser, but whenever Joey Ryan's like going viral and then people are sending me that, making fun of me as a wrestling fan because, hey, look, this is what wrestling is now. I'm just like, it's just, I just kind of hang my head in shame. And then when I was at APW earlier this year, Joey Ryan came out as Star Dong, and he wrestled a guy named the Berkeley Brawler, who's really funny. And they did that spot, and I was with my wife who had never seen that before, and I was embarrassed. And then I looked in front of me, and there was like a 5-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, and they're looking at this, and I'm like, ugh. I felt like I had to take a shower right afterwards, man. It was the whole thing was just gross. I get that it's funny, and if I was a teenager, I probably wouldn't have an issue with it, and I wouldn't think it's funny. Maybe obviously I'm in my mid-30s now, so those things are not entertaining to me anymore. But I get why he does it, and I get why he continues to do it, and I get why promoters tell him to do it. And I honestly get why Mick Foley did it. I don't think like if I'm a fan or whatever, and then like the promoter, like somebody comes into the audience and said, hey, look, hey, we got this idea, we want to do this thing with the fans, you got to grab Joey's dick, and I would say no, thank you. I honestly would. I would just say no, not going to do it. And then I say, wait a minute, how much you paying? and then we'll talk. But of course they would never pay. But the whole thing is just embarrassing. But I think Jim Cornette needs to relax a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, to call it, I'm pretty sure I'm giving an exact quote when he called him the cancer of the business. And I think that's a little too far.
Oh, he says the same thing about Omega because Kenny Omega wrestled a blow-up doll, and he wrestled a 9-year-old girl too in Japan one time. So, yeah, and Kenny Omega is one of my favorite wrestlers, so obviously I have forgiven him for that. If he were to do it today, like in the Tokyo Dome in the main event, I would never watch wrestling again probably, but... I think
it's on a little shit. It's context.
Yeah. It's all
like where's it happening?
Right. These little indie shows, like everybody's kind of in on the joke, right? So there's usually like 100 people there. It's like not that big of a deal. But when it goes on the internet, man, everybody gets to see it. And I'm sure that Mick Foley one's probably got 1 million views by now. So
probably
the whole thing's embarrassing. But anyway, my who gives a shit of the week is, we've already talked about it, Enzo in a shark cage. Dude, I just don't care. We talked about it on Garbage Time Points, but and it's been mine for the last few weeks. Big Show, Big Cass, Enzo in a shark cage. I just don't care. I'm not interested. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, I don't think this has just got to be a thing to just shit on Enzo. Like that's the only thing I can imagine. Yeah,
and Sports Illustrated also came out again with a story about just how much heat Enzo has. Apparently he's been bringing like skanks to the locker room, and he's been like videotaping the other wrestlers and stuff like that. So I think it's only a matter of time, man, before they get rid of that guy.
And they've done so much to try to not cut wrestlers. I mean, think of years past, like right after WrestleMania, we'd see 15, 20, 30 people get released. This year, not so much. They've cut back on catering. They cut back on pyros. They've done everything they can to not cut wrestlers. And somehow, I think Enzo's still going to find a way to get released.
Absolutely. All right, so we're almost done with the show. We're going to go ahead and just rapid fire off some topics real quick. So Disco is a creep. So if nobody saw this, Disco Inferno challenged wrestling fans on Twitter to take pictures of hot girls at indie shows. That's super fucking creepy. And I swear to God, if anybody ever took a picture of my wife when I was at an indie wrestling show or any wrestling show, I would knock them the fuck out. And I'm not even a good fighter, but it would happen because I've seen other wrestling fans, and I think I could take most of them.
I didn't see that. That's super weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Leo Rush, he recently signed with NXT. He's a great, small, kind of like a high-flying guy. He was in Ring of Honor. He's a really good wrestler. However, he no-sold a power bomb off a ladder through a table in some garbage CZW crap wrestling show. And so basically Joey Janela power bombed him off the ladder, and then he just he kipped up immediately as soon as he hit the floor and no-sold it. So that's fucking lame.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. Like, if you want to no-sell a couple punches, whatever, like, I'm fine with that. But, I mean, when it comes to big spots like that, sell it a little bit. I'm a fan of selling. I hate when big moves get no-sold. I've seen that, and immediately, it turns me off.
Yeah, it totally turns me off. CZW, like the super hardcore matches, I liked that stuff when I was a kid. ECW did it because it was like you didn't get to see that on TV, and it was just crazy and bizarre. People grow out of that stuff, but I guess CZW still making money, man. They're still around, so what are you gonna do? Stephen Bonner, UFC Hall of Famer, he's a pro wrestler now. That's big news. I still think Stephen Bonner's a big star. I don't know, maybe he's not, but he's going to be wrestling in New York over the weekend, and I think he's going to do a Future Stars of Wrestling show in Las Vegas. So that should be really cool, man. So good for Stephen Bonner. He's got a career outside of mixed martial arts. He's been off TV for a long time, but looks like he's taken his talents to pro wrestling. So hope he does well. I'm looking forward to see. I doubt he'll ever get to the WWE because he's probably already over 40. But maybe we see him in a big indie show. Maybe we see him on GFW. Who knows, man? But it'd be really cool to see him.
Yeah, what they should do is get Forrest Griffin to be a pro wrestler too, and do some kind of worked rematch there.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would watch that.
Yeah, his first match is going to be against Matt Riddle, who has transitioned extremely well from MMA to pro wrestling. So good for him. Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota and one of my favorite conspiracy theorists out there. He's going to be doing a show for the Russian government TV channel, RTV. And Vladimir Putin said it's going to be uncensored. And you can take Vladimir Putin's word for it.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of the most honest politicians out there. Jesse Ventura, definitely not crazy at all. So I'm sure this will be a nothing but truthful TV. But I'm looking forward to watching it. Like, Jesse Ventura he's batshit crazy, man.
Absolutely.
Like, that guy's entertaining as hell.
Yeah, man. He had a podcast for a while that was really good, but he quit doing it. And then he had a TV show on America's version of RT. It was called Off the Grid. And then he had another show called Conspiracy Theories. And that was an awesome show. Sucks that it's no longer on the air. So hopefully he does a show and it's in English. So, but I'm looking forward to that, man. The crazier, the better for me, and I love conspiracy theories. Yeah,
his conspiracy theories on True TV. He did an episode up in Kansas City about the caves there, and was just going on and on about like how nobody knows about these and how they're hiding shit in there. And if you're from Missouri, you know that the caves you're talking about is actually used for their storage caves. Like, people actually have storage containers in there for private parties.
Well, with aliens, though, right?
Yeah, with aliens, right, apparently. But yeah, that show, I wanted to buy into some of it, but man, the guy is just out there.
Yeah, so he's got a book out about conspiracy theories, man. It's super fascinating. I don't think I believe any of it, but I like... so it's going to have to be pretty entertaining and pretty out there for it to be a book and for me to read it. I don't read books. I like documentaries. I like articles. I don't like books. And I actually bought his book, and I read it on the plane on my way to Afghanistan. This was before Baron Corbin shamed me. and I got to tell you, it was an excellent book, excellent read. So if other people happen to hear this, go out and read Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory book. It's really good.
Yeah, well, hold on, there's a couple. Is it the American Conspiracies, or is it the documents the government doesn't want you to read? American Conspiracies. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I got. It was like $8 on iTunes or something like that. You can just download it, so that's what I did. Or I think XWT is your friend on that one. You could probably get the PDF for free.
Yeah, well, I'm looking on Amazon right now. It's $8 on Amazon or Kindle, so very easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then last but not least, we've talked about this before, but Chael Sonnen, he is really angling to get that Chuck Liddell fight, man. And they already got me, man. I'm interested. Hey, Chael Sonnen knows how to talk people into a room, so I'm in. I'm down. And Chuck Liddell said he'd knock the shit out of him, so let's see it.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Like, I'll watch it. I mean, Chuck Liddell hasn't fought in 10 years, maybe. I mean, I don't know when the last time he's fought, but it'll be probably awful. They both might die. I mean, Chuck Liddell's pretty fucking old, but I'm in for it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Dude, somebody just tweeted me and said, let me just grab that military card real quick so you can play it. Yeah. That's so
there you
awesome.
go.
Yeah, and then another guy called me a piece of shit. Let's see. Some good tweets, man. I like it. So, somebody just tweeted to him, if you backpedal harder, you might develop some abs. So that's a pretty good one.
Shit.
Yeah.
Poor Baron Corbin, man.
Yeah. Oh, somebody said something nice. He said, you know what? A lot of people are shitting on you, but honestly, taking a step back here and admitting when you were wrong was classy. That's awesome.
Well, that's probably the nicest thing he'll hear for a couple days.
Yeah. I kind of want to chime in and say, hey, everybody leave the guy alone, but I'm not going to do that.
No, he dug his grave. Let him lie in it.
Yeah, but, I admit that I was wrong. I should not have played the military card. It's kind of a silly thing to do, but, dude, yeah, I was backed up in a corner, man. He called me a loser. I was defending all of wrestling fans, and I was defending Uncle Dave. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah. All right, man. So that's going to be it for this week. Tune in next week. So, Joe, I got an idea. I'm thinking next week we start our Wrestling Observer Match of the Year series. So where we will watch every single year for the last 30 some odd years, so we'll do this once a week. It'll content for the show, and we'll watch the match of the year, and then we will tweet it out, and then we will talk about it on the air. And I'm also thinking we downloaded the Wrestling Observer Match of the Year pack from XWT. Why not just on the Podcast Express account, just upload one of those matches each week, and then we'll talk about it, and then try to get us some YouTube subscribers before they take it down. Obviously, they'll probably take it down.
Obviously, yeah, that's a perfect idea.
Yeah, we can try to alter the name a little bit. Just put Podcast Express, and then some code, and then just put I think the first one's Backlund and Patera, right?
Yeah. That's a perfect idea.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to do that starting next week. We're going to review each Wrestling Observer Match of the Year, kind of leading into the nominees for this coming up year. And, man, 2017, dude, so many matches of the year. It's going to be hard to beat. I can't imagine anybody beating that Omega-Okada draw, but, fuck, they're about to do it again, so who knows?
Yeah. I think a 30-minute time limit will hinder it a little bit, but I think Omega Okada 2 probably, I think it's a safe bet for match of the year.
Yeah, man. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Tune in next week. Also tune in next week to Garbage Time Points podcast at GTP Mike and Rick. I'm at Get Up Mike. Joe, you are?
At Joe Gilbert 1992.
And then we are at the Pod Express, and we'll see you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.